Today's Real Talk is about marketing and promotion. Yes, we're tackling a question I get a lot lately from makers and creatives just like you. And that question is, I'm marketing like mad, but I'm still not getting any positive results. If this is a question that you have, stay tuned. Real Talk with Tian starts now. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Real Talk with Tian podcast. This is a podcast dishing all the dirt on the realities of running a creative business. My name is Tian, and I'm a designer, technical editor, and business coach. See, since leaving corporate almost a decade ago, I've been doing this amazing work full time. It hasn't always been easy, but it has always been totally worth it. Over the years, I've had the amazing opportunities to work with hundreds of makers just like you and tons of big brands. This has given me a front row seat to what it takes to be successful as a creative business. With this podcast, I'm drawing back the curtains to share with you the behind the scenes of the realities of what it's really like, what it takes to run a successful and fulfilling creative business. Welcome to the conversation. Grab a cup of tea or your favorite beverage. It's time for some real talk. In today's Real Talk conversation, we're talking about how to recover from a failed launch. The other day, I was having coffee with a friend who's also a creative, and she says, T, I just launched my new line of jewelry and I'm hearing crickets. I thought it was what people wanted. I thought they'd go wild for it, but it's been over a month and nothing. I'm talking about it everywhere, all the time. What am I doing wrong? This is a question that I get often, and when it's a friend, I doubly want to help, right? And I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what new jewelry line she's talking about. I mean, I follow her on social media, and I didn't even know she launched a new jewelry line. So what is she talking about? Especially when she says she's been posting about it. So I'm trying not to be an awful friend and embarrass her and myself. So I say, where are you talking about? Because I follow you and I haven't seen anything about the launch. You know how the algorithms are. Where have you been posting about them? Well, she says that she's posted them in her stories on Instagram. She posted on her Facebook page, and she sent one email to her list. And I'm sitting here waiting for her to say more about what she's done, but she doesn't go on. So I say to her, well, in a month, you've only mentioned your new jewelry line 3 times. And let's be honest, guys. That is not near enough mentions of what you're offering. So here's the thing. She hasn't been talking about it everywhere because she says she mentioned it 3 times, which is obviously not enough. Here's the reality. You think you're talking about your thing, but your people aren't hearing. What might feel excessive to you is barely a drop in the bucket because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. And if you're not out there talking about it, they're just not going to, 1, hear you, and 2, remember that you're out here and that you exist. So while you saying that you're talking about it a lot and it might feel excessive, it's not. You are not doing enough. You feel like you're constantly talking about it, and that's because you're constantly thinking about your thing. You're thinking about your audience all the time and about what they want and what they need and how you can support them. But your audience, they are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think. They probably won't remember you if you don't stay top of mind. I mean, you think they see everything you post? Like I just mentioned, the algorithm changes so fast, it's hard to keep up and to know who's seeing what and when. So when you say you talk about your thing every day, you better do it until you're blue in the face. And even then, you keep talking about it. Here are the main 2 things that my friend mentioned that we want to demystify and really dig deep into. 1, she said that she was talking about it everywhere, which we know 3 mentions is not nearly enough. You have to talk about what you're offering many, many times in many different way with the same message, of course, But you have to find creative ways to say the same thing over and over to your different audiences and on different platforms. So if you're talking about your thing on Instagram, it might sound and look a little different than what it might sound and look like on Facebook and on your email, but the message will still remain the same. And because you have a clear message of what you want to say, you can make sure that you're saying it over and over again to your audience, so new folks that are finding you are seeing the same message, and it's fresh and different, but it's the same message. And it has to be done consistently and over again. Like we said, 3 times mentioning a new launch is not nearly enough. So just simply posting on your Instagram stories and sending one email to your list and posting on your Facebook group one time is not enough. You have to keep talking about your product, talking about what you're offering to your audience on a consistent basis. The next thing that she said was that she thought people wanted what she had to offer. And my question to that is, did she pre-validate her idea? Is this what her audience wanted from her? Did they raise their hand and say, yes, I want this jewelry line? And that didn't happen because she did not share with them what she was doing. She just popped up one day and said, hey, I have a new line of jewelry that I'm offering. Or if you're a designer or a knitwear designer, it could be, hey, here's this new design I created. Go buy it. But that's not how marketing and promotion work. It's a journey that you're taking your audience on, from people who are just finding you and discovering you, to building awareness of who you are and what you do, and then bring them on this journey to anticipation that, hey, this thing is coming that you're working on, and you're getting some buy-in from them that they are interested. So you're probably wondering, how do you get buy-in from your audience that this is what they want? How do you get this pre-validation? Well, it could work in a few different ways. You could ask your audience in a survey, which works, but I prefer to either have them sign up for a waiting list that this thing that I'm doing is coming, and if they're interested in it, to drop their email in this form so that when it's available, we can get them first notification. But the thing I really love most for pre-validation is a pre-sale. Give people the option to not just say, hey, this is a cool thing that I might want, but hey, this is a cool thing that I want as soon as it's available, and I'm gonna pay for it now so I can get it as soon as it's available. And that's really the best pre-validation option there is, because people are telling you that, hey, I want this thing and I'm willing to pay for it before it's even complete. And this way you have an idea of how many people really want this thing, and then you can decide how much you want to make, if it's, a physical product, or if it's a digital product, you have an idea of how many people really want this, so you can go ahead and make it. So the bottom line is, regardless of what your audience is like, what product you're making and offering, you have to put it in front of your audience multiple times so they can really see what you're offering and how it will benefit them. And also you want to put it out multiple times because, like I've mentioned, the algorithm changes so much where people are not seeing everything that you put out, that they might just have missed it. And then the next reason you want to put out your offer multiple times is because people need to see things multiple times, many, many times before they decide it's the thing that they want. So you have to give your audience the opportunity to really get to know you. We'll be back to the episode in literally 90 seconds. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsors. This episode of the Real Talk with Tian podcast is brought to you by possibly the most important training for crochet and knitwear designers and tech editors. Pattern grading made easy, learn to grade like a pro, self-study. This course has helped hundreds of designers and tech editors learn the skills to level up and create patterns that are size inclusive. When we're talking about making designs bigger, it's not just about making the numbers larger. It's about the proportions and considerations of the bodies the designs will fit. I've been there, struggling to figure out pattern grading and how it all worked, figuring out the formula. With the years under my belt as a renowned designer and sought after tech editor, I'm sharing all I know so you can avoid all the trials and error and start creating patterns that are size inclusive. So if you don't want to be that designer, you know the ones who think adding more sizing to their sweater pattern is too hard and too expensive. They don't value all bodies, and God forbid, they'll be promoting obesity. Oh, clutching my pearls. If you're ready to create patterns that are focused on every body, then join Pattern Grading Made Easy Self-Study and start grading like a pro. For more information, go to bit.ly/pattern-grading self-study. Again, that's bit.ly/pattern-grading self-study. Now let's get back to the show. So, is it possible to recover from a failed launch? And I use that word fail very loosely because I don't believe in failure. I believe in opportunities to learn and improve. So is there a way to recover from a launch that, didn't go as well as you'd like? Absolutely. I mean, do you need to scrap the whole idea and start again? Maybe, maybe not. And if you're worried about it, again, people are not paying that close of attention to what you're doing. Because like we saw before, people are just not seeing everything you're putting out there. So if you decide you want to scrap that whole launch and do it again, that's perfectly acceptable. Or you can just pretend that was a soft launch and go into a bigger, grand launch. Now, what could this launch look like? Let's look at social media. It could be you posting in your stories. It could be doing lives. It could be showing behind the scenes of your inspiration for this new line, this new design. It could be you showing sketches. It could be you talking about who this new thing is for. Talk about the transformation they'll get when they're wearing your earrings or knitting your design. And you're probably thinking, okay, I design sweaters, or I just make jewelry out of nickel-free metals, or I crochet dolls. And you're thinking, what kind of transformation can my audience get from that? Well, everything that we do affect the people around us, affect the people who uses our products. And that's what we really need to drill down into and create messages around. So if you're thinking, okay, I just design sweaters, well, it could be for that person, the transformation could be for a woman that finally is able to find a pattern on Ravelry and not have to modify it because it comes in her size and she feels comfortable that she can just knit it and just look amazing in it. Okay? Or if you are a crochet doll designer, it could be that, this little black or brown girl is finally seeing a doll that represents them, that looks like them, and they feel amazing to be seen in the world. Or if you're a jewelry designer, maybe you're empowering women that, build their confidence so they can go into the boardrooms and have that confidence to speak up and share their ideas. So really focus in on the transformation that your audience is getting from the pieces that you're making, from the work that you are sharing with the world. So I hope that makes sense. If not, please reach out. We can definitely chat more about this. Okay, and then the next area that we can really look at for recovering from a failed, quote unquote, failed launch is the email list. Now, my friend only sent one email. And like I said, we need to be sending multiple emails, definitely not the same email, but it's a similar message that we're sharing over and over about the transformation, who it's for, behind the scenes, things like that. So the issue that my friend had is that she only sent one email, and it was to a cold list. And what I mean by a cold list is that she was sending emails sporadically to this list, and only when she had something to sell. So it would be months in between the times that she was selling. So whenever she would go and send a new email, people would just unsubscribe or just not open it because they didn't know what it was. And when they did open it and saw that it was a sales email, they're just like, never mind. I don't want to be a part of this. So email is not just for selling. Email is to offer value. It's to build relationship with your audience on a regular and consistent basis. So leading up to the launch and between launches, send multiple emails on a regular basis, weekly, but I know for a lot of people that seems overwhelming. They have other things to do, but the key is to be consistent and not just when you have something to sell. Then the final point we want to talk about for recovering from a failed launch is to do live stream, to show your face, to go on and show people what you're doing so they can see who you are and that you are a real life person who is just not going to take their money and run, especially if you're doing a pre-sale, right? You want to build up that connection with your audience and then not just use that live stream just for Instagram or Facebook, but you can also repurpose all that material into emails and social media posts. So what we want to do is create this strategy that is full of useful content, but it's also repurposable, meaning that you can take pieces of the content that you're posting from different platforms and repurpose it around to different platforms in the way that that particular platform likes to have their information shared. So when you create content for one platform, see how you can reuse that content on multiple different platforms, repurpose it so you can have more consistency in your message, and then you can have more opportunities to share with your audience. So if you're like my friend where you've had a launch that didn't go so well, you were just hearing crickets and you were just wondering, what could I do better? How can I change this? How could I recover? We've talked about so many different options that you can go back in and just try again. Launches are not one and done. If you want to continue to sell and make consistent sales, you want to be able to continue to share stories about your work, continue to share about your offer to your existing audience and to new people who are constantly finding you. So develop this strategy for launching, and once you've mastered it, it's something that you can tweak over and over because the foundations will remain the same. You have to keep on talking about what you're doing until you are blue in the face, until you feel so bored because your audience, they're not seeing it and they're not thinking about you as much. So you have to keep repeating yourself and sharing the values of what you offer. Now, if you have a launch that's coming up or you've just had a launch and it didn't go so well and you need some additional help, feel free to reach out. I would love to work with you to figure out what you can do, how to create your message, and create a strategy. I would really love to help you. You can find me at tianconaughton.com. And everything we've talked about, I'll link in the show notes for you. Again, a launch that didn't go as well as you would hope is not a failure. It's an opportunity for you to learn and to pivot and to do better the next one. Until next time, bye for now.